We've got a great debugging session today. Link in the description if you want to follow along in GitHub. My prototype looks great. Now I need to make it actually work. I add a detector to that sphere using the JavaScript console. A little confession, I don't know if debugging is quite the right word for this. I was just a little bit sloppy when I wrote the code. I knew I'd have to come back and debug it. I didn't even try to get this exactly right the first time. I just made some good guesses and figured, what the heck, we'll figure it out. And what you know, here we are figuring it out. My code dumps a whole lot of debug information. This is everything it used to determine whether the detector should be displaying a small white or orange circle. Next, I rotate the detector a little bit in one direction or the other just to see what happens. Positive means clockwise, apparently. As you can see, something went wrong. It turned white when it obviously should be orange. Now you know where the project stands. Only one thing to do next. Let's look at some code. It'll be easy to find the relevant code. You saw that I wrote something out to the console, so let me look for that. This is one reason not to leave too much debug stuff in the console. Clean up your old stuff so you can find what you're looking for. I'll fast forward through some of these slow parts. I spend a lot of time during these sessions getting snacks and taking breaks and just staring blankly at the screen. The detector switched colors 90 degrees off from where I expected it to. So let's try adjusting it by 90 degrees just to see what happens. I saved my changes. That automatically updates the website. Let's repeat the same experiment we did before. And I immediately see a problem. Notice how the detector is white even though it's right in the middle of an orange section. Well, if it wasn't in that direction, let's try the other direction. Well, it looks promising so far. Right at and around 0, we seem to be getting an orange value. And another edge case. That's just shy of 90 degrees, and it's orange, just like it should be. Now let's move that detector just a little bit on the other side, and yes! Yes. So I think we have this part right. Let's keep going. 180 degrees looks pretty good. White on white. Just shy of 270 degrees is white, just like it should be. And just past 270 degrees is orange. So it looks pretty good. Well, that was one bug down. Let me move this into the Git staging area before I make any more changes or before I do any more debugging. Well, it works when I rotate the detector. Let's see what happens when I rotate the particle. The z-angle property lets me rotate a sphere either clockwise or counterclockwise. That's the same way that I can rotate the detector. Initially, the z-angle was 0. I'm going to change that to 180 degrees, flipping the particle around. And there it is. Sure enough, the detector says it's white. It's correct. 2 pi flips it all the way around, so we're back to orange. 200 pi, or 36,000 degrees, is 100 times around a circle. But there's no change because we're in the exact same spot. It's still orange. So far, so good. Now let's try rotating the particle just a wee bit counterclockwise. It's still orange. That's good. Now let's go back. And a little further clockwise. And a little further. That doesn't look right. I might need to think about this one. It eventually turns white, but not as soon as it should. At this point, I'm still trying to think it out. I have an idea. It's starting to congeal in my mind. We were off just a little bit, but also the detector is off center just a little bit. So what if somehow, like through a reflection or something, hold on, can I find that exact code? I mean, it's definitely in that positive modulo thing where I'm looking, and I almost have it, but I make a mistake there. I meant to invert everything, not just that one number. So of course it restarted. We're going to try this all again. A lot of up arrows because I'm running the same stuff over and over. And there we go. We started with our new detector. I don't know why I'm so excited. I know this one's going to fail. Okay, let's take a deep breath. And let's rotate the particle 45 degrees clockwise. See what happens. So far, so good. Now, what if we start moving the detector a little bit counterclockwise toward that spot where it's going to turn white eventually? Good, 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 good. Not good. Okay. So, yeah, something is off. Let's just keep going. Let's see what we can find. Yep. So suddenly, notice how it did change at 45 degrees, but the wrong way, like it's flipped over. I can imagine something definitely flipped over, even though I'm having trouble coming up with the exact scenario. Again, that's the debug data I've been talking about. It's nice that you don't have to stop in the debugger and actually grab that. I knew, well, basically, I just dumped everything out. Well, we're here. Let's just keep going around. Let's see what we can find. No need to stop and restart. Now we're getting close to that edge, but I'm betting nothing's going to happen. And presumably it's going to flip exactly 180 degrees from where it was last time. A little further. A little further. Sorry about the train. A little. Yep. So we can kind of see what's going on. Again, it's off a little bit, but it's off in a very specific way. Let's take another look at that code. Maybe. Yep. Yeah, it was just a silly thing. Now that I look at it, I just meant to negate that thing, and I only negated half of it. So let's try it. Let's see what happens. And for some reason, we've scrolled all the way up to the top. Come on. Scroll up in the console. Scroll down in the document. See exactly what we were seeing last time. I started by moving the detector just a little bit. Then I threw caution to the wind and just started jumping right to the edge cases. Things look good. That was great, but that was just regression testing. I proved that I could move the detector and that would work properly. Now I need to rotate the particle to prove that I fixed that part. After a few tests, I feel confident, so I review my last changes and add them to the stage changes. So what's next? Well, we have a whole nother axis of rotation. This one gets a little bit trickier because when we get it close to the edge, it's a little bit hard to see what's going on. After poking around a little bit more, I realized there was only one good solution. I created a ring of detectors surrounding the particle. Now I could see what was happening on all sides at once. When it was close to the edge, I could still tell that half of the detectors were white and the other half were orange. That last part was already working, and I don't see any more problems. So how about I push this change back to all the way to GitHub? Or at least I need to make a commit. There's no real reason to push to GitHub until I have something a little bit more to show. This is all internal. The prototype was mouse-driven. You could move the detector without writing any code. And the particle moved on its own. That could make testing go much faster. I just did a commit, so I don't need those diffs anymore. Next, I'm going to delete the old prototype. It's outlived its usefulness. The only question I have is if there's any shared code. Maybe something like this arrow archetype is used in multiple places, so I hate to delete it and find out that it's actually required. This function called randomize is what runs the old prototype. I looked around a little bit, but I couldn't find an answer to my question. This is one of my favorite tricks. Just change the color of something, make it really obvious. See if you can find it on the screen. And there it is. I wrote the prototype and the new code a while ago. I just didn't quite remember what I'd written, so I had to go back through and figure it out. Yeah, enough of that. Let's just rip this out and see what happens. Let's fix that syntax error, then try it out. And another error. It's our old friend, arrow archetype. The first thing the prototype code does is look for arrow archetype. And when it doesn't find it, of course, it reports an error. Well, that's gone. But it looks like we have some new errors. You see, I do a lot of thinking at the keyboard. So I removed the detector that was hard-coded into the HTML file. Now I need to create two new detectors using the new code that I just finished fixing. There are still some errors in my code, but I can already see the new stuff running. Notice how much faster these debug messages are coming, and notice the detector is changing colors constantly. The test is running constantly and automatically, so I don't have to do anything in the console. Next, I'm going to fix the second half of the prototype. So one of the detectors will follow the mouse. Sorry for all the fast forwarding. This really is a real look inside my head. Sometimes when I'm thinking, I just kind of go in these circles, and it takes a while before I do something that, in retrospect, looks fairly easy. Whoa! That only lasted for one frame. I'm glad I caught that. That's the build process. Apparently it was halfway in the middle of something when that one frame was redrawn. I usually don't even see that. It usually, if there's a real error, it'll just sit there for as long as it needs to. But, well, it's looking pretty good. Now that that's working, let me take a closer look at my code. The best part of Git is seeing my recent changes, so I can clean things up before I commit. It was nice working freeform while I was trying things, but now I can go back and really do it right. I get hypnotized by my own effects. Everything seems to be working. I don't really need to stare at it this long, but I just like to. I'll check the diffs one more time. Then I'll put everything into the staged area again. I'm going to do one more thing before I bother to commit. That logging thing needs to go. We're doing so much logging now, it's ridiculous. I have to do an explicit build step now so that the users can see my changes. The explicit build is more picky, and, well, sometimes it's better just to do it than to ignore the warnings. I do some more regression testing, and I find that there's some more junk going to the console. There was a lot of junk coming from multiple places. It's a little bit of a different feeling now. It's a, hey, I'm almost done kind of excitement, and can I fix that last bug versus fixing the major bugs that I came in to deal with. Well, the work's never done until you add help. Trying to make it readable, where it'll be off the bottom of the screen and no one will see it, but at least I tried. Part of the problem is that the detector can move, so we need to leave white space for that, and that makes it harder to see the help. Good enough. I'm declaring success and moving on to the next part. Here I have a detector that's in the main part of the document, and it was just kind of a placeholder. And what the heck, why not put our new detector that we made work, why not put it up here in the real document? But first, let me make a commit. The rest of this video is me getting everything ready for GitHub. I recorded this video a few weeks ago, so there's already new stuff out on the web. Please check it out. I hope you enjoy it.